Well, hi everyone. Welcome to this training session. I'm Nick Hopkins, the News Lab lead for Google in Australia and New Zealand. Today we're going to be focusing on Pinpoint.
Hi everyone. Welcome to this training session. I'm Nick Hopkins, News Lab lead,
which allows you to use machine learning to sift through large amounts of unstructured information, for which many investigative journalists is something of a pain point. I'm sorry, I'll see myself out. Anyway, we're going to get started in just a moment. Before we do, I want to let you know that we'll be recording this session and sharing it with those who couldn't attend. You'll find it on the Google News Initiative YouTube channel after we finish. Also, before we begin, I'd like to, of course, acknowledge in NAIDOC Week the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet. I'm sitting on Gadigal land of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. This is the first of a series of training sessions that we plan to hold over the coming weeks. If you're interested in further training, some of you may have had training with the News Lab before, but we have some new things to share with you coming up. Some topics you may be familiar with and some you won't be. So I hope you can join us for those. Stay tuned for more information from us, and please don't hesitate to get in touch. And so with that, I'm going to hand over to Miguel to get us started, and I really hope you enjoy the training. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Nick. And look, I would also like to just begin today by starting and also acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and community. I pay my respects to them and their cultures and to elders past, present and emerging. Look, welcome everyone. My name is Miguel de Souza, and today we're going to take a look at Google's database management tool. It's called Pinpoint. You'll find it at the Journalist Studio, and let me just make sure that I'm telling you where everything is at the moment. That's where you'll find it. And look, I have been tweeting to everybody over the last few days to go along there and sign up. But if you haven't, you can certainly do so during today's session, and you can do so just at that spot over there. We're going to look at Pinpoint. Now, Pinpoint uses AI and machine learning to help sort your data, categorize it, and find markers like names, places, and geographic locations. It can analyze text in images. It will transcribe your audio files and identify misspelled words in images, handwriting, or an audio transcript. It can do a lot of things. And over the next little while, I'm going to show you exactly what it can do. But first, a bit of a background about the Google News Initiative. The GNI is Google's effort to build a stronger future for journalism. In Australia, this means that you can access free newsroom training courtesy of our work with the Walkleys. And it also means that you can access the work of the team of the News Publishing Fellow, Nick Hopkins, who you've just met, who is our News Lab lead in Australia. Neil Varco is our News Publishing Fellow, and with a goal to help local, regional and smaller publishers build stronger businesses. And as well as that, we have Anna Freeland, who works on the team as Google's Trends Data Fellow. And you can follow us all on Twitter, where there are plenty of insights being shared, or certainly get in touch. And I'm going to make sure that you have lots of opportunities to write down or just record details of where we're at. Now, another really useful URL which is worth giving a plug to for sure is, of course, g.co/newstraining. Now, really, you'll find there this and every other type of tool training sessions for every other type of tool, as well as Pinpoint. But you'll also find Google tools to help improve your productivity, your search, your research, map use, satellite imagery, and much, much more. Now, Pinpoint is bundled into the Journalist Studio. This is a new platform which is a suite of tools for journalists covering data, graphics, secure online reporting, and many other reporting tools. And as Nick said, in coming weeks, we're going to be doing sessions on podcasting, which is next week, machine learning and verification. But you can start using these tools now and certainly sign up for others at Journalist Studio. So let's get started. But let's begin with Pinpoint. I'm going to spend some time walking you through a few of its features before we start using it. So I've displayed the URL for it on screen. No, I haven't. There it is. So there's the URL for you to get started on Pinpoint. But if you keep an eye on what I'm doing, you can see that a couple of things I want to point out to you is in the first instance, Pinpoint makes it very easy to search through and analyze and understand a large data set. It uses Google Search to manage your documents. That means it will learn your documents after you upload them. And essentially, this also means that you can use Google search operators to search through your documents. It also incorporates artificial intelligence, which will retrieve misspellings and other variations on a name. I'll show you all of this when we get into a little bit of a deeper dive into the search. It will also use optical character recognition, or OCR, and it will OCR that text in images, PDFs, old magazines, scans. It's quite incredible what it'll do. And it'll support a massive range of file types. I'm guessing that this will increase, but for the time being, image file types that it supports are JPEG, PNG, GIF, bitmap or BMP, and TIFFs. It will also transcribe and read docs, PDFs, PowerPoints, text documents, and the email formats it does currently are .eml and .mbox. And look, that still does cover quite a large part of the email universe. But again, that can be really useful for sorting through massive archives of email dumps. And finally, with audio, it will do MP3, WAV, and FLAC files. Now, there are some parameters and limits on what it will do. And as with every new tool, it certainly will continue to be developed. And it'll be really important, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, that you early users certainly send your feedback through, because I have a feeling that, you know, as early adopters, your feedback will be really, really important. Anyway, more on that later. What it will also let you do is once it has read and understood the contents of your document, as you'll see, it presents this back to you as a series of filters for you to apply to your data. And again, I'll show you how that works. And reminder, again, you can use search operators in it, which is just such a great thing. Privacy and security, just on that point, Pinpoint allows you to securely share data with individuals. You'll see that the share tools essentially only allow you to share with others individually, and it is completely secure. And again, there are some limits on file sharing. I'll repeat these a bit later on, but the current file size limit for any individual PDF is 1 gig, and that's massive. Any individual file over a gig won't be processed, but again, that simply means that you split it. Files over 100 meg will get split into smaller PDF chunks, with each PDF chunk displayed separately. But again, that doesn't affect how it performs. That's simply so that it helps you organize it. Files under 100 meg with a lot of text information will also be split for better processing. Now, there are again some limits on CSVs and Microsoft Excel files, which will force you to split them. Anything larger than 1.5 meg, you'll need to cut back. But more on all of that later. One really interesting thing, though, is that audio files that are bigger than, you can process audio files up to 4 gig. That is a massive, massive allowance. And I'm going to show you that that basically means you could have a whole half-an-hour radio documentary or something like that and transcribe the lot. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself because I've been playing around with it for a while, and I'm quite excited to show you. Now, it is important to notice that to point out that, you know, you can essentially sort and modify data in that way. That is to split it up to usable chunks before you upload it. But again, that's not that hard to do, and I'll show you what you should do. Okay, so this is how easy it is to upload documents to Pinpoint. I'm going to step you through it, and then I'm going to actually just do one live so you can see how easy it is to do. So first things first, You start off simply by visiting the site and hitting create a new private collection. Give that a name, and then simply start to upload. Now, for the record, I uploaded a 30 meg zipped file of the Paradise Papers, and I was working on a 5 megabits per second upload speed, and I managed to upload the full set in around 4 or 5 minutes. Now, naturally, your results aren't going to be the same as mine. It will vary depending upon lots and lots of things, as you know. Now, you can upload directly from your computer's drive or off Google Drive. You can batch upload, but just be aware of those limits I talked about earlier on. Now, with a lot of those, I would recommend that you simply just go and check out the FAQ on the Pinpoint page, because that will explain to you a lot of things as a new tool. You're probably just getting used to. One thing I will tell you, though, is that where files don't process, you'll get a message explaining why. And that can be useful because, for instance, that nodes.officer.csv file you can see on your screen failed to process because I simply needed to break it down into a smaller chunk. Now, what I'm going to do just quickly is I'm going to actually just jump to Pinpoint itself. I'm just going to go to all collections here. Let's just make sure that you are able to see my screen. Okay, yep. So as you can see here, it simply works by just hitting this button here to create a new private collection. Now, I'm going to work off another set of documents I've got. So I'm just going to create that document, give it a name. And now I'm just going to go straight to my computer's drive and select the files. As you can see, I've been doing a hell of a lot of downloading in the last few days. And if I just do a quick search for Panama, there we go. We've got the full document set right here. So now I'm just simply going to highlight all of them and hit open. Now, while that's uploading, I'm just going to cut back to here to just show you that once your documents are up, in fact, I'll just quickly jump back to Pinpoint. You can see right now that they're actually still processing, but it's a matter of a few minutes to process all of those. Let me just quickly go back to. Now, while that's happening, I just quickly want to explain to you again some of the limits. Just remember that if you have CSV files that are bigger than 1.5 meg, they won't currently process. Now, with smaller files, only the first meg of text will be indexed for the purposes of search and entities. So in other words, again, we're talking a really, really small file, maybe a single document. So at least for the purposes of this, it'll index the document so you can search it later. And I'll show you that at least means that you can click through now and look at the document closely yourself. And it still means it's searchable as well. You can process an image file right up to 10 meg. So that's pretty generous, but obviously that excludes things like extremely high res images. You might have to save down where it would still return something of a result so that you can read the use the optical character recognition. Anyway, let's have a look at how our upload's going. That's still processing right now. As well as that, one little point I should say is again, relating to audio files. And remember that there are 3 different formats it will process. Anything bigger than 4 gig will fail to process. But the files themselves, if you can keep it under 4 gig, which means you might have to perhaps maybe, if you have something that is, say, 5 gig, maybe split it in half using a sound editor and then drop it in, as long as it's clear enough to be able to hear the language. Okay, so our files are still processing, and as you can see, it's still almost there. But, and I can, oh, here we go. So now you can see it's simply adding the files. What it's doing now, while all of this is happening is it's starting to understand some of them. Now, it looks like it hasn't completely added everything, so I might just quickly add one, and I'll show you how. Let me quickly just add this address folder. Now, my suspicion is I haven't checked the file size settings on those, but if I go for just a single file, I suspect that this will probably work and show you at least how easy it is to upload. So while that's going, and you can see it's again analyzing it. It seems to be working a lot more quickly with this particular one. And that one's failed as well. I think I better check that. But in the interests of how I've gone before, let me just quickly show you here. This is an example using the Paradise Papers. Now, as you can see here, what it's done is it's uploaded 3 files. They're all CSVs in this case. What it's already done is it's filtered the document for anything that it understands to be somebody's name. So if I click on one of these, Bert Craig, for instance, it brings up this record that comes up from the Paradise Papers from somebody in Canada. Again, if I wanted to, I could find other things by organization. So we see here, got a whole bunch of different organizations mentioned. For instance, Credit Suisse, and you can see here it brings up their entries in any of the documents where they were mentioned. So simply a matter of just adding your documents, and then Pinpoint will start to filter these and read them and understand them. But anyway, let me continue on. So I'm just going to jump to my next screen. So here's another application for daily news monitoring you might want to try with Pinpoint. Now, I've been looking at a local council's planning and development application section. This is for this, for example, I was using was for the city of Wangaratta. Now, I managed to set up a Google alert to essentially retrieve public notices relating to subdivisions and applications. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the Pinpoint I created after a couple of weeks. So you can see it's just down here. So I waited a couple of weeks and I amassed a bunch of public notices that followed a series of Google search operators looking for things like planning, etc., etc. Anyway, so what I decided to do was, here's an example where I was able to sort of see that this document now had a whole bunch of locations around Wangaratta, including Australia, which were mentioned in some of the documents there. If you know Wangaratta's rural city was mentioned, it'll come up in the document. Or alternatively, if somebody spelt it or phrased it differently as the rural city of Wangaratta, that also came up. So, for instance, if I wanted to be able to see, look into stuff like a phrase like native vegetation removal, which is a key phrase that people use when filing to remove trees, I could determine, for instance, who had filed a report to remove some trees. So let's give it a try. That's the phrase is native vegetation removal. And it's filtering it there. Now, what if, for instance, I wanted to see which entity perhaps had been doing the most tree removing or applying? Well, it's actually filtering over here these various different departments. What if I clicked on Vic Roads? Well, you can see here that Vic Roads is now coming up as a cross match with applications for native vegetation removal filed by them. So in the last few weeks worth of looking for applications for permits of various kinds, they've come up, by the looks of things, at least about, I'd say, half a dozen times with the words native vegetation removal in their application. So that's a way that you could actually use it just for your everyday sort of, I suppose, council style round, which it could be pretty handy as a way to just keep tabs on maybe an organization that you're keeping an eye on, basically, like your local council. So again, well worth giving a try for something like that. I'm going to show you a different application now. I want to show you some of its amazing AI features. Now, let me show you what it can do with pictures and audio. Now, this is, I wanted to see what it could do with data recently released as part of the Palace letters from then Governor General Sir John Kerr to the Buckingham Palace. The letters were released as PDF downloads, which is absolutely perfect for Pinpoint. So first I uploaded all the letters as a batch, and this only took a few minutes. Once uploaded, Pinpoint then can process these with OCR and AI, which then take over. So for instance, a search for the phrase periodic picks up the phrase as handwritten or typed text in use in the PDFs of the letters, as you can see in these examples, but it also picks up variations and even misspellings, but it reads it in text as well. And it gets better because this can also transcribe audio. But look, there it is. There's a variation of periodic that it picked up in some typed text on a typed letter. Amazing. And there again, it was even picking it up on really, really poorly scanned, or not so much poorly scanned, but really faint text on a magazine cover. Now, I want to show you what it can do with an audio file. I'm going to stay with the dismissal era. I thought I'd try to get a sense of the detail of media reporting of the government during its tumultuous reign. So I found an audio archive file of the ABC's This Day Tonight, and it had done a review of the first 12 months of the Whitlam government. Now remember, Pinpoint can process a file up to 4 gig in size, so a 15 meg file takes seconds. The processing, which essentially turns this into a PDF transcript, took, in this case, 15 minutes. Sorry, not 15 minutes, 10 minutes. So just to be clear, it was a 15 meg file, which I uploaded to Pinpoint, and it took 10 minutes. And when I say 10 minutes, it took 10 minutes to upload and process, that is, transcribe the file. Okay, so now I did this earlier because I didn't want us to be sitting around while I uploaded it. But instead, what I want to do is I want to just go to the actual live file. So let's just go back to our collections, and I will just go to Gough Whitlam Audio, and you can see here that you get a little message saying, explaining what's happened. It will also explain to you what's happened to your converted files. I'm going to not bother clicking on that. I'll leave that one for you for when you use Pinpoint yourself. But here is This Day Tonight's transcript of, or rather this is the transcript of the This Day Tonight program. And as you can see, what it's done is it's broken it up into chunks of text. I can play them.
Was taken. You may have seen the photograph.
Like so.
Where?
And I can also read the text that it's transcribed. I can obviously check it.
No, I sat just a little way away, and I felt that I was part of the business.
But again, as many of you who are used to using Google's voice, Google Docs voice typing tool, you will know that it can be scarily very accurate. So again, some little bit of detail. Pinpoint will automatically transcribe audio files, and it will transcribe. The transcription currently works for MP3s, waves, or FLAC files, FLAC files. For wave files, Pinpoint currently works with linear 16 PCM or MULAW, ULAW encoded audio, and primarily works in English. In fact, it only works in English for now. Audio files can be up to 2 hours long, but again, that does depend, as we always know, on the size of the file and so on. But as I say, it is remarkably good at transcribing your files and then giving you a searchable record. So if I click back to here, you can see now if I search for something like Buckingham Palace, it's coming up as text in the transcript that I've just uploaded. So again, Pinpoint could be really useful as a way just for your everyday work if you have audio that you have used and you simply want to database and later on, use for your own personal archiving purposes. This could be really, really useful. So anyway, I'm going to press on. That was audio. I understand time is at a bit of a premium, and we've got to kick on. But anyway, what about if what you haven't isn't text but images or graphics? Now I'm going to use some classical newspaper and magazine covers. I'm just going to switch again to back to my Pinpoint and just go to all collections. Now I just happened to have some newspaper and magazine front covers which I found on Flickr, and I've done a bit of a scan of. Now, just again, you can see over here down the right-hand side, it's actually identified names of people in various newspapers. So let me just click on this one. And you can see it's turned up on this. So if I click on this, you can see it's a front cover of the Sydney Morning Herald from the day that Pope Pius XII died. And this is from October the 10th, 1958. And as you can see, it's a newspaper that's folded. There's a bit of a shading on it. The text is very small, but have a look. It's actually read it all across that page. Okay. Now, what if I wasn't interested in that? What if I was interested in just another word entirely? Well, I picked out, I'm only using this search term because I know that it's on a very difficult to read part of a page. Have a look. You can see it's actually picked up that word where it appears even up here. So the optical character recognition is unbelievably good on this. I just wanted to show you one more thing. Yes, that's right. Let's see what the weather forecast was like. So you can see up here, we've got the weather forecast on the late edition, and even I can't read that, but the OCR is in fact picking that up. Now, I'm going to also just show you one more example of how good the optical character recognition on this is. What you're looking at right now is quite a beautiful Pacific War map from Japan from World War II. Now, these are part of an exhibition at the Trove Archive at the National Library of Australia. What I wanted to do is I wanted to see whether it was possible to actually use the optical character recognition to read and translate and understand these maps. So let's give it a go. So first things first, I decided I was going to use this example for our live demonstration. I'm just going to click on it. And as you can see, I'm just going to zoom right in. These are beautiful maps, by the way. But what I'm going to do is simply nick it. So I'm just going to save it. Now, I'm going to go back up to my collection, which is of Pacific War maps, which I created earlier on. And I'm going to add that image to it. Okay, so let me just quickly make sure that I'm using the right reference so I don't get myself confused. So back to my Pinpoint. These are, I've uploaded some maps earlier just because I wanted to show you how it worked. But while I am talking, I'm just going to go to my downloads. And of course, let's just grab that. Okay, so now that's being added and it's being processed as I'm talking. And while that's processing, I just want to actually show you exactly how this works. Now you can see down here, again, it's identified text both in English written text and also in Japanese text. In turn, it's identified different organizations in the text. Now, bear in mind, these are 80-year-old hand-drawn maps in Japanese. And it's also incredibly identified locations, which it's identifying in English. And I'm just going to click on one of these for you. This is the Andaman Islands. Now, what I've clicked on here is a map. And if I click on it, it's actually identified the Japanese text for the Andaman Islands as it's written over here and translated that into English for me to read. It's incredible. Now, while we're waiting, our map is still processing, so our other one is still actually working. I'm just going to quickly click and look. It's added our map, which is great. And it's also converted it. And again, I'll go back to that map later, but I just want to click on this one. Now, this is interesting because it's actually a misspelling. And if you zoom right in here, you can see that it's a location here. It's part of a word. But again, the map is able to be trawled out. If we just quickly, yeah, okay. So now our map is finally there. You can see that it's uploaded. If I go back, it'll now be part of our filtered set of maps over here. So you can see it hasn't taken any more than a few minutes for the map to be uploaded, and yet more locations have now been added, and we can simply filter them just by clicking on the record down the left-hand side. And again, if I go back to our map there, again, it's just basically using a JPEG lifted off a website. So it can do all sorts of absolutely incredible things. And certainly I hope you do. I hope I've given you a good idea of what you can do with it. But look, there are some other really great applications. We're all aware of the amazing work of Maria Ressa at Rappler. Now, that was quite an interesting application. That what happened there was just that basically Maria Ressa used the forerunner to Pinpoint, which was Backlight, to look through 13,000 documents, which Backlight processed in a piece about Ferdinand Marcos's history and corruption, and CIA daily briefing reports about martial law in Manila in the 1970s. Also, the news organization Reveal used Backlight to essentially gather thousands of pages of emails and records from health agencies across the country, so as to be able to look through the record for keywords, to be able to then develop a map of what was really happening with COVID-19 and US immigration detention centers. And the Washington Post also used the Pinpoint data archive for these stories. And I quickly just want to show you, in fact, how you can access some of that. So here's, when you get into Pinpoint, you simply can look at all collections. And I just want to scroll down a little bit because you keep going and you can see all of these really cool documents added by organizations like Washington Post, etc. Now, this one in particular, let's have a look over here. This is the document archive that was used by the Washington Post in Project Backlight, which is now, of course, Pinpoint, to organize their reporting for the Mueller investigation. Now, it's interesting here because if we key in the word Australia, you'll see here that mentions of the Australian ambassador talking to Sam Clovis, who at the time was in fact dealing with, was in fact a member of the Trump team. And of course, it's just escaped me what he was doing at the time. But again, the Australian ambassador back in 2016, I believe he's back on our shores these days, in fact invited the head of the Trump's media campaign back to the embassy for a bit of a chat. So, you know, don't rule out looking at some of these examples by, you know, news outlets around the world, because they certainly have some pretty good tips on what to do there. Now, look, I'm just going to quickly share with you the most important details of all. How do you get started? Well, first things first, just go to, and where have I put it now? seem to have mislaid it. Well, do go to g.co/pinpoint. I would encourage you to get started first at the Journalist Studio. That's where you can access all sorts of useful new tools. Just quickly, I think I can see a lot of people getting pretty excited about the transcription tool, and I thoroughly agree with you. I think the OCR and the transcription will be the thing that will absolutely save most of you a heap of time. So look, please get started. Sign yourself up at pinpoint-support@google.com. Apologies, let me just make sure I get that. I'm not telling you the wrong thing. Sign up here, but definitely send your feedback to Pinpoint support, because you will find it'll be really useful to us, and it'll make a better product. Now, one last thing, and just to keep that on screen, just to remind you, sign up at Pinpoint. And while I'm telling you that, don't forget news training as well. And look, just remember to email us at newslabsupport@google.com. That's really important, because that is where you can access in-person training or any of the other training or resources that we have here in Australia as part of the News Lab team. It's all available to you. And if you just want to get started, just send us a message on that. I'm just going to have one little last look, and no, it looks like we are all cool. So I will at this point say goodbye, and hopefully this has been really, really useful to you. Thank you very, very much for joining me, and I certainly do hope that you found this really useful, and look forward to all of the great work you'll be doing with Pinpoint. So thanks again.